Now it looks like we are live again for another. It's episode 30, gentlemen. Welcome.
Dirty 30, here we are.
Woo! Fired up for another week of the good life. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Instagram family, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Hope everybody's doing amazing on another Wednesday night. For those of you that had just joined us on the pregame over on Instagram, remember the pregame for the Good Life is 1 hour before. So in 8 p.m., it's at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific over on Instagram. We're just chopping it up, talking a little bit about the topics that we're thinking about for today, for today's conversation. And today we got another good one for you. We're excited that we've been here with you for 30 weeks. Thank you so much for everybody that has tuned in, that has liked, that has followed, that has commented on any of the posts or any of the content that's been out. Hopefully it has added value to you, and that's what we want to continue to do. At the end of this, we got some exciting news that we want to share with you. But for today's show, let's jump right in. We had a good pregame. But Stu or Kobi, I'm gonna let you guys introduce the topic for today because again, talked about it at the pregame. Want you to talk about it for the live. Let's rock and roll.
All right. So the big thing we wanted to get into today, and Kobi phrased it best, is counter narratives. Like, what is the overarching mainstream pushed narrative that everybody seems to be on board with? And then what are the other ones? The ones that get silenced, the ones that get chastised, debased, character attacked, so many different options out there. That's what we're going to dig into. We're going to focus on health, wealth, and mental as well. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Who wants to dive in first?
All right, guys. I guess I'll go ahead and take the first baton here. Shout out Jamaica relay team.
Hey.
Oh, listen, there's so many of them, counter narratives, but maybe I'll do the narrative and then the counter narratives or some counter narratives for you guys to consider. And again, this is for individuals who are curious about, is there another way? What am I missing? I want to get better. I don't want to go do all of this research. Point me in a direction so I can do it, right? So this is for those individuals. If you're already kind of like stuck in your ways, you're already like, if you're not open-minded, this is not a conversation you probably enjoy. So just to give you a heads up. First and foremost, I always want to say, there are so many resources out there. I got a couple right here that I can share with you guys before I go into these counter narratives that I think are all extremely crucial, right? The choice is clear. Please check that out. Dick Gregory's Natural Diet for Folks, right? Natural diet for folks who eat. So if you eat, this book could help you, okay? Okay. I want you guys to check out Your Body, Your System by Dr. Shiva. All right. I want you guys to check out one of my favorites, the Mucilus Diet Healing System. Please check that out. While you're doing that, just check out Rational Fasting by the same great man. And also go ahead and pick up the China Study. This is a special copy I just got. The China Study. Break all this down. And then one that's highly recommended is, if you want to start here, that's super short, is The Grape Cure. The Grape Cure. I share all these resources to share that you can go dive into this. Don't just take my word for it. Reading Rainbow. All right, I'm done. Don't just take my word for it. Like, actually go start reading up on this stuff. And guess what? Each book has what's known as a bibliography or works cited, right? Or where do they get their information? Where are they pulling from? Look there. And then you can go ahead and find additional resources that you can dive into. See, what's really interesting, I always find, is that people always said, send me the resources, send me the article, send me this and that. And they either won't read it or they'll read it enough so they can refute and rebut. Okay. I want to start there. I think it's incredibly good. This stuff isn't pushed. Most medical professionals do not read this stuff. They simply don't, right? So let me put them in a couple categories. There's the counter narratives, and we'll start with, you guys know what I work with is the 7 baby steps to health. 7 baby steps to health. Let's look at just a couple to start out with. Hey, what's up, Serge? A couple here to start out with: food, water, breathing, sunlight. Just that. Let's start there. And then I'll add Mother Earth or feet to that. Mother Earth, feet, shoes. I'll add that to that. Okay, just those right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could just take one of those, by the way, but I'm gonna skim off the top so you guys can get a full understanding of what's going on. See, what we've been told food wise is that we should count calories. All right, we got to eat our macronutrients.
I was gonna say, I've been having the protein conversation with people forever.
We got to eat our macronutrients, right? So our protein, right, fats, right, and our carbs, right. We have to eat 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? Just those right there. That's the dominant narrative. See, it's not that those are wrong. It's that they're not complete. I'm not saying it's dead at, well, some of it is straight up wrong. Straight up. We don't need 3 meals a day. We just don't. I don't know who came up with that. Actually, I do. Shout out Chris, right? You didn't come up with it, but you said this a little earlier. I actually counter narrative to that. You don't need 3 meals a day. You only need enough to sustain your level of activity and your metabolic functions. And consuming anything more is actually poisonous and harmful to the body. Like, not that it's like, oh, it's bad for, no. It's actually poisonous and harmful to the body, right? So that's food. Counting calories. That's only important, one, if you're trying to do a modern thing, right? So what do I mean by that? If you're trying to be a bodybuilder, right, where you need precision, like you're dialing in on what's up, right? Or if you don't eat our species specific diet, there ain't no way you can eat our species specific diet. And if you don't know what that is, hit me up. I got you. Okay. You don't get everything right here. Come on now. Don't get greedy. Okay. If we don't eat that, if we eat our species specific diet, we never have to think about calories ever. Test me on that. Okay. That's food. Let me jump. Should I jump to water and stuff, or should we go around and come back?
I like the idea of going around.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we can go around.
All yours.
All right. So the one I want to dive into, and for legal purposes, I'll go ahead and let it known that I am not a licensed psychiatrist, but I have personally experienced multiple times where clients or friends or whatever are coming to me and telling me stories about how they cannot motivate themselves. They cannot wake up. They cannot get out of bed. They cannot do all types of things. First question I ask them, are you on any mental health medication? 9 times out of 10, people that are completely sleeping well past 8 hours, that are having the worst time motivating themselves and have not seen substantial progress, they end up being on some type of mental health medicine. Now, I do know some individuals out there, some stories, etc., of people doing ridiculously violent or erratic behavior, and there's cause to have some type of immediate solution to the problem. Now, I've never been in that situation. I think there's a possibility that there are times where maybe there is some type of mental health medicine required to stabilize what's happening. But oftentimes, I'm the first one that actually mentioned to them, what does your lifestyle look like? What do you eat? What do you watch? Do you exercise? Like all different types of things. Who do you surround yourself with? What are your goals? What do you have scheduled for the day? And all of these things seem to get completely ignored by whoever's prescribing them. So my big thing that seems to be the common narrative is the moment you experience something of a mental variety, you're supposed to have a pill to solve that because that pill will counter whatever's being produced in your body. Here's the thing, folks. That pill's got more stuff than just dopamine in it. It's got more stuff. It's supposed to numb you in many circumstances from people that seem to have such great highs and lows. I'm here to tell you you can completely regulate your highs and lows with routine and by focusing on the details of your lifestyle. I've done it myself. I've been through depression. I've been through anxiety. I know that me personally, I am a fucking example. And I get very passionate about this topic because I argue it with a lot of people. A lot of people that may not have been as low as I've been before or as wound up as I've been before. But I figured it out. Of course, I'm not perfect. I still got things I got to figure out. I'm no robot. But if there's a way to do it naturally, where you're not taking in something that makes you feel tranquilized, talk to me. That's all it is. Talk to me.
Huge.
Got, Chris?
That's huge. So on the financial side, and I'm going to catch a couple people up or just make sure everyone that's watching or listening knows why we're having this conversation around, the common narratives, the narratives that we hear out in the world around a lot of these topics that allow people to, as could be said, right, not think as much, kind of dumb us down a bit, right? Like some of those types of things that we stop thinking about. We just go with the flow in these areas. And these are narratives that we're constantly being told or fed, and it's causing us to go one direction. But just like Kobi said earlier, right? Like if you're the person that's thinking like, but there's got to be another way, right? There's got to be something different. Well, there are other narratives. Like there's other things that like you can do or that you can learn in order to take your life in a different direction if you don't just want to go with the flow. And we are kind of diving into some of those things right now. Before I jump into mine, I'm going to share what Greg said on the screen. Said that I can't even benzos almost killed him, destroyed his life, way over prescribed by psychiatrists. Praise God, he has his life back. So kudos to you, Greg. Right, but that's exactly what Stu was talking about.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Greg, I'm sorry you went through that, brother, but I'm glad that you got to find a way out of it. A lot of people get stuck on that hook. So way to get after it.
That's right.
Very popular hook.
It's a big deal.
Very, very popular.
It is. And again, these are common narratives, right? Like it's very popular. These are the things that allow us to continue to go with the flow. And we're trying to break that up because in order to get to the good life, guys, to be honest, you got to go away from the flow, right? You got to go away from it. You can't go towards it in order to get to that life. So that's what we're covering today. We're going to keep going around. For me on the financial side, you guys know, right? Like I talked about this and I shared a little bit on the pregame that like I've been pushing back against the common narratives for middle America, right? Like middle income families, right? Like I've been pushing back against the narratives that have kept them in the middle class for my entire career, right? One of the biggest things, one of the biggest ones that I constantly push back against, and I mentioned this earlier, is home ownership, right? Home ownership. The narrative that we all hear is that right, home ownership is the American dream. That's the American dream, to own a home, right? The whole white picket fence, spouse, 1.5 kids, dog, yard, right? Like that becomes the dream. And when I get a chance to sit down, and I've sat down with a ton of people, and we go through that process of, hey, what are your goals? What are your dreams? What are you trying to do with money? How are you thinking about it? Inevitably, 9 out of 10 people that I sit down with that fall under like middle America, middle income families, they say that their goal is to buy a home for themselves to live in or another home, right? Like even if they're already in one, it's we need another one. Or if they don't have one, that is the goal, the main goal, right? And I've pushed back against that because that narrative, who does it, right? Again, we don't know who made it up, but I do know who made it up, right? Like I know that narrative serves banks and the government, That narrative serves banks and the government. And again, this is where we have to start to break down some of the things that we might have been told or what we've been taught to understand that who we got that information from might not have had the best intentions getting us that information. So home ownership, a lot of people say owning your home is an asset. When I ask that question, is the home that you live in, the home that you currently occupy and live in, is it an asset? Is it a liability? The vast majority of people would answer that question and say it's an asset, right? Well, my definition and many people's definition, I haven't even gotten to the place where I could say this is the actual definition because, money is different. Currency, the way people talk about money is different, right? But a lot of experts will follow this definition of an asset being something that puts money into your pocket on a monthly or annual basis. And a liability is something that will take money out of your pocket. Okay. So that's just a basic working definition of an asset and liability. Does this thing put money into your pocket? Does it take money out of your pocket? Right. Now, if you understand that owning a home, the home that you live in, does it put money into your pocket on a monthly or yearly basis, or does it take money out of your pocket to occupy that home? Well, the answer is, right, it takes money out of your pocket. You got to pay the mortgage. You got to pay the taxes. You got to pay the maintenance. You got to pay the electricity and all the things. Like, it takes money out of your pocket. And so then people hit me up on the other side. It's like, yeah, but what if you sell it? Then you have the equity in the house and all those things. Yes. But the way to realize that equity is by selling the asset, right? If you call it an asset, the only way to realize how much you actually have, you have to get rid of it so you can actually profit from it, not so that like you have an asset, right? Like it's not actually the asset. You can profit from that, but you won't own it anymore. So understanding this one kind of underlying thing when it comes to money and home ownership is that house might not be the best financial decision for you at this moment. Not saying that you should never own a house, not saying that it's not practical to, because people want to get into the rent, right? This is what always happens in all of these things. I'm sure we're going to find like a common thread that people want to switch the narrative to some other conversation, right? So people want to get into the rent versus mortgage conversation. Well, it's more practical. Well, if I'm going to pay this in rent, I might as well pay this in mortgage. Got it. Understand. However, let's just look at the actual thing that we're talking about. Is that house an asset? Is it a liability? It's going to be a liability because it's taking money out of your pocket. You're constantly going to have to feed that thing, and it's not putting money into your pocket. Now, real estate as an investment is a completely different conversation. Real estate, where the purpose of purchasing that piece of real estate was so that it can make you money, put money into your pocket, cash flow you, well, that is an investment, right? That is an asset. That is what happens. But understanding that you wanting to own that home doesn't necessarily mean it puts you in a better financial position. Most times, if you're not prepared, it'll actually put you in a worse financial position to purchase that home. This is a narrative that we hear a lot. And I push back against, and I talked about this at the pregame. Like, I'm used to people disagreeing. I'm used to all of you that are watching right now being like, I don't know about that one, right? I'm used to that side of it. But if you play out the numbers, if you really played out the numbers, if you really said, okay, this house that I'm consuming, that I choose to live in as an investment, let's actually look at the numbers. When people give me the rent to own conversation or the rent versus owning conversation, I said the only way to really compare these numbers, the only way to compare the numbers is not rent to mortgage, it's rent to everything that goes into that home. Everything. Every Lowe's trip, every Home Depot trip, every call of the plumber, every call of the electrician, everything. That's how you calculate an investment. It's every dime that you've put in. So if you really want to talk about it, you have to look at not just what you purchased the house for and what you sold it for, but also how much went into that house. Everything, every dime. And when you compare those numbers, you'd be surprised to see probably better off renting for most people. But again, it's a common narrative. It's a narrative that's out there that we hear, that we just kind of take as is and say, yeah, I should buy a home, right? Maybe, maybe not. Got to challenge it. So that's one on the financial side.
Chris, I think that's a great one. and it's one that we've chatted about before. I think it's one that's pretty. I understand that you get a lot of pushback on that. Why do you get a lot of pushback on that is even more important, though, because there's been so much effort, so much resources invested in pushing this narrative so people believe it. And you'll see that common thread throughout all the ones that we share today, right? It's that there's a common rebuttal, and that rebuttal doesn't actually come from the person. It comes from the robot behind the person that's been programmed by all of this propaganda to believe that that's the case. And it was something that I thought for a long time. I was like, oh yeah, almost Asare. And as something in my gut told me that, like, well, I don't know, it doesn't really always add up. But until I started looking deeper, right, is when that actually came to light. So I appreciate you sharing that. And anybody that's listening to this, I really, encourage you to suspend whatever you already believe and take a look at the numbers like Chris is talking about. Seriously. Next one here I'll say is I'll combine food and water again, because again, so much. Listen, you might come back and I might do food and water again. Like, it's that big. Okay. But I want to stay high level here a little bit. We've been common narratives about food, dominant narratives. Well, let's take the food pyramid, for example. Right? Okay. Guys, it's not even dominant. It's a straight lie. Brothers and sisters, I don't know how else to tell you this. Oh, I don't know. Huh? It's a straight lie. It is. They've changed it so many times because there's so many people that are lobbying, and most of those lobbyists come from the food, from the meat and dairy industry. Oh, my goodness. There's this dude over here that keeps reacting to stuff I'm saying. So if I look over here, that's him, right? So, and then I look at, I was a free lunch kid, right? I look at what they fed us in public schools. Like, Lord, right? Okay, lies. Based on that stuff. Then I'll go to water real quick. A couple of dominant narratives that we've been told about water is that, all water is water. No, that's not true. Water is not just water. Water has memory, guys. YouTube, Your Brain on Water. You're welcome. Your Brain on Water. YouTube that and watch it. Okay? Not the same. Just not the same. I highly encourage you to look into this. The water you're drinking could either be healing you or helping you heal, or it could be preventing chronic issues that we're not paying attention to. Okay. Again, I presented this in the beginning, but choice is clear. Check that out. Okay. And then we're told we must have 8 glasses of water. Not true. Not true. Right? Can't just blanket billions of people need 8 glasses of water. It makes no freaking sense. Okay. Why do I say that? They came up with that because, just like most things in the health industry, in the health world, it's trying to play catch up to problems that we created. Okay. What I mean by that, individuals, we are eating so much dehydrated foods because we cook the water out of our food and then we try to add it back into our system by drinking it. Guys, that don't make no sense. That don't make no sense, right? We cook the water out of the food, kill the food, because if you believe any living thing is surviving that level of heat, I'm here to tell you that's not true. Biophotons are long gone by then, right? Those macronutrients that you're trying to get so bad, that protein you're trying to stuff down so bad, dead. And see, they don't tell you that macronutrients is something that they came up with, but below that is what we actually need: micronutrients. What do you think macronutrients are made of? Right? So I think it's incredibly important for us to understand this. Then check your water source. If you live in city, you drink city water, you can look that up. Look up the quality of your water that you're drinking. Right? And that last thing with food and water, and then I'll pass it on to you, Stu, is that we've been told that like, we've come up with these amounts, right? Like this amount, eat 3 meals and drink 8 glasses of water, and and you need to first come to zero with your body, meaning you need to clear the table, clear the deck, whatever you want to call it, and then create a relationship with your body because your body is individual. There are some general rules, no question about them, right? But your body is also individual. It requires you to listen and interact and go back and forth. You need to create that relationship with your body. Otherwise, they'll just whatever is told. Oh, well, doctors say you should drink 2 glasses of wine a day, and that's going to really help your heart. Bro, y'all know you've seen this on the news. All right? A glass of red wine a day would. Sure. But no. I don't care what data you show me. That's just not true. Because the cost of plant metabolic waste entering our system, which is what alcohol is not beneficial to our heart, bro. Y'all need to stop this garbage. Like how? It doesn't make any sense. But it's being pushed, and it's being pushed consistently, and it's killing people.
Mm.
Yeah, that's it. It's killing people out in there.
I'll admit it. That's it.
So 2 things I want to go ahead and mention. For anybody out there that's having like a difficult time like being open-minded about some of these narratives, let me just provide like 2 points of like personal experience. So 1, when it comes to owning a house, I have so much fear about the liability of the place that I own. It is basically making me want to get out of it because it's not providing me with income. Yes, it's a great long-term plan, but for anybody that has a mild amount of like ambition above the norm of what you want to do with your money, Chris has made great points to me already. I could be doing so much more with that instead of having this liability of something that could happen because of a storm, of a tenant crisis, like whatever. When it comes to the food pyramid is always my favorite go-to when it's like, guys, like what, like we all literally walk around as adults knowing that cheese is not good for us. I'm not going to touch the meat right now. That cheese is not good for us. We literally know it. It causes gout. Like it causes.
But I love cheese.
I know, man. And for those
ahead,
people
bro.
over there, oh no, not you. I know. For those other people, that guy sitting right next to you, like we all grew up on this. But as adults, we look back and it's like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. You're telling me if I eat all this bread and all this cheese, I'm going to be healthy? We know this to be a lie. So for the sake of a philosophical, conceptual argument, if they lied once, could they do it again?
Mm-hmm.
Leaving it there. So as far as the next mental thing, I've been thinking for the last 5 minutes which one I want to go with. The first thing that comes to mind is the whole concept of manning up.
Don't do it to him.
Of swallowing your pride, of just holding in your emotions and just not letting people in. I used to not ask for help. I was depressed. I probably could have saved years of that if I actually had have gone to somebody. I was raised by the old school where you figure it out on your own. And what's really great about the newer generations is there are tools out here to help you guys get help. So for anybody that's out there not enjoying their day, unexcited to wake up, find somebody. Could be a coach, could be a therapist, but just talk to a couple people. Try and figure out like who's got your back. Who do you really feel comfortable with? Because I know way too many men that just pretend like everything's okay because they have this idea that if they don't act as the rock, no one's going to look up to them as a leader, as a father, as a husband. And I'm here to tell you the best relationships I've ever had is when I've been vulnerable enough with somebody to earn their trust, to let them know like, hey, I'm being vulnerable with you. You can be vulnerable with me. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out as a team. You cannot build the life you want in your own box, just bouncing around all these negative thoughts. So this whole idea of manning up and not crying or not letting your anger out in a healthy way that does not cause violence or harm to other people. By the way, there are things that do that. I think one of the most popular ones, it's called fucking boxing, like punching bag. Okay, like just seriously, there are ways to release your anger or to release your sadness. Like do that. Don't drink it away. Don't be the man that gets to say, "Oh, you know what? I've earned this 5 glasses of whiskey today. This is how I'm going to handle
Oh,
it."
jeez.
Or tequila if you want to hit a little closer to home. But long story short, guys, don't man up. It's not a thing. It's just something that people have programmed into us to make us not reach out for help. Go get you some help. You don't like your life? Figure it out. Get some help.
It's huge. That's huge. How many times as a kid did you hear, be a man, or like man up, or toughen up?
I'm actually very grateful. I heard it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful I didn't hear it as much. And I think part of the reason why I didn't hear it as much is because I did not buy in to the most like heteronormative masculine sports, football, etc. Where it's like you're gonna take this concussion and you're gonna like it until you've taken so many concussions that by the time you're 40, you can't think. But guess what? You were a man, so good for you.
What sports did you play, Stu? Did you play any sports?
Soccer, basketball, baseball, swimming.
Yeah.
I could go on.
So you still got it. I mean, you still could have gotten it from other areas, yeah?
I could have. I think I had amazing coaches.
Yeah.
But I think it really comes into play with the contact sports.
Yeah.
That's where it's like be tough or die. And you know, there is in those things, there is some truth. There is a psychological battle that has to take place. If you show weakness on a field, people will come after you like sharks in the water, like blood in the water. So there's a balance that has to happen there. But at the end of the day, man, fellas, like open up. Your woman wants to take care of you emotionally, just like she wants you to take care of her emotionally. The best way to do that is to get honest with her.
That's good, man. That's good.
Gems.
Those are huge gems, and hopefully everyone listening is writing them down. I think this is like such a noteworthy episode for episode 30.
Yeah, Ashlyn, check this out.
Yeah, right. y'all should definitely be taking some notes on this one. But yeah, man, you guys have been saying some good stuff on the financial side. This is another one that get a lot of pushback on, man. Because again, when you go against the grain, from what the masses think or where people are headed, man, be prepared to get some pushback. Be prepared. But again, it's how you get to the good life. If you want what everyone else has, then you can do what everyone else does. If you want something different, you have to do something different. So it's something to always remember, right? If all your family's doing one thing, you have to ask yourself, like, do I want to be where they are? Is that the life that I want? No, well then I don't think I can do what they're doing, right? Or Russ, the rapper, a line. He said, if I'm taking your advice, I'm following your mistakes, right? Like, really, if you're like listening to somebody, then they're probably not going to tell you all the mistakes, all the things that happen, all the kind of the downsides of it. So you're going to run into the same things. But man, on this side with this financial product, I'll tell you, I've had my share of bouts over the years with people around this topic of the 401k and how this narrative of if you have a job that offers one, it's in your best interest to put money there, right? No matter who you are, no matter what level income you're at, no matter what job you have, or whatever your future financial plans are, if they offer you a 401k, you better take it. Otherwise, you're stupid. Because if you miss out on that match, well, you're just an idiot, aren't you? Right? Like that would just be too much to miss out on some free money. You hear all these things, right? You hear all these same things that people constantly say about this product, right? And again, who is it benefiting? Does it actually benefit the employee, the person that puts money into it? Who what's the narrative? Why does your company incentivize it? Most people don't even know this. That your 401k, the reason why the company matches is because they don't pay any taxes on that money. It's a tax write-off for the company, for them to incentivize you, the employee, to put money into that vehicle. But who pays taxes on that money? You do. The company does it. You do. So if I told you, hey, you got to pay taxes on your $5, you'll be like, all right, cool. If I say, hey, I'm going to give you an extra $5 and you got to pay taxes on that too, you would have a different thought. You wouldn't just be like, oh, well, it's free money, of course. You would actually think like, do I want to pay taxes on that? Should I take that money? Would it be benefit? You would actually have a part where you would think like, is that the right decision for me? But the narrative that they tell us with retirement is you got to put money into this 401k, this TSP, this 403b, this 457 plan, whatever they offer you at work. It's all the same stuff. It's all tax deferred. And again, are we thinking about exactly what this says? We'll have a little financial education on here, right? And I'll give you guys exactly what I tell people, how you should think about tax deferred products. Tax deferred, 401ks, traditional IRAs, TSPs, 457s, pension plans, 403bs. They all fall in the same category of tax deferred products, okay? So what that tax deferred product says, exactly what the title is, tax deferred, meaning you're not paying taxes on the money now that you put into that. What you're choosing to do is defer the taxes to down the line when you're 60, technically 59 and a half, that's the age. Then you can start to touch some of that money and you'll pay taxes at whatever the then tax rate is. So again, from a logical, just using your brain, just thinking about like how your life is going to be or how money is going to be, what you're saying is, I'm not going to put money into this vehicle right now, or I'm going to put money into this vehicle right now and not pay taxes on this little bit of money. The average person puts anywhere between $200 to $500 a month into their 401k or their company-sponsored retirement plan. That's anywhere between $2,400 and $5,000 a year. Okay, that's basically what the average American is putting away. So what you're saying is, I'm not going to get taxed on this $200 a month. I'm not going to get taxed on this $300. What I choose to do is grow a larger portion of money, often with extra money from the company. And what I choose to do is down the line, whenever I have my harvest, whenever I have my nest egg, I would like to be taxed as I pull that money out. Okay. Now, the things that we don't think about in this narrative is, A, are you planning on being in a higher or lower tax bracket when you're 60? Well, the narrative, ladies and gentlemen, that they've told us is that you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you're older. They told us you should have less income. Your house should be paid off. You should have less liabilities. You should make less money in the future than you do now. That's what they're telling us. You should have less money in the future. You should make less income in the future than you do now. That's how you get into a lower tax bracket. Okay? So that right there, that thought of like, okay, well, when I'm 60, do I plan to have less income than I have now or more? If your answer to that question is more, then right there, tax deferred product might not be for you. That's one strike or one red flag, right? Second thing to know is, do you think taxes will be higher or lower when you're 60 than they are now? I often educate people also that like the top marginal tax rate in this country in 1960 was 91%. 91% tax rate. So top tier of whatever the bracket was, right? Like they taxed the wealthy in this country 91% of whatever that top bracket was. 91%. Right now it's at 37. We're at some of the lowest tax rates that we've seen in our lifetime. So the likelihood that taxes are higher in the next 10, 12, 15, 20, 25 years, whenever you plan to retire, highly likely. So again, if you choose to put money in a tax deferred product, what you're saying is, I'm just going to gamble with whatever the tax rate will be down the line. And whatever I have stored in this 401k, 403b, Uncle Sam, you could come get it whenever, right? I'm ready to touch it in 20 years. Whatever you're taxing me at that time, it's fine. I got to take it out. It makes no logical sense to really say, well, this is where I plan to retire. This is the vehicle I'm going to retire in. For most people, And again, the reason I say most, because everyone's financial outcome is different. Everyone's outlook on their financial life is different. But again, I want us to understand the narrative. The narrative that they're pitching us is that this vehicle is good for everybody. It doesn't matter what job you start, how old you are, what your financial state is. It doesn't matter. If you get a 401k offered to you and they're matching, you better put money there. We can't go with that narrative if, again, they make these blanket statements. They don't know your financial life. They don't know your financial goals. They don't know how long you're going to be at that job. They don't know how ambitious you are. They don't know your risk tolerance. They don't know anything. So yet we put all of our money into these vehicles, and then we pick our head up, and we're in a retirement crisis right now where the median 401k, I read an article that just says this, median 401k for people between the ages of 50 and 59, median, meaning the middle, $229,000. $229,000 is the median 401k in this country for people between the ages of 50 and 59. That literally means if at the height of your career, you're 57 years old and you were making 80 grand a year, you saved up 3 years worth of retirement from this 401k vehicle that only came out 40 years ago. That's been an experiment for everyone. The narratives that they push on us are not always in our best interest, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why we need to get educated. Who is, just so people, again, in the comments, and right, again, if you're closed-minded, this is going to be like, I'm attacking you, and right, cognitive dissonance might set in, and you might just be like, right, you can't even process some of this information. But the way you break it down is you really start to dive into the education of the products that you have available to you, and then understand what each of those products do. Breaking down tax deferred, the reason why people have tax deferred products is so that they can save money on taxes this year, particularly trying to lower their tax bracket for higher income earners. Why your CPAs or your accountants will always push you into tax deferred products. Max out that IRA. Make sure you max out that 401k, because their job is to make sure that they save you tax money this year. That's how you evaluate them. Me on the other side, I'm the financial coach, the guy saying, hey, how are we building? What are we thinking about down the line? How are we looking at that retirement? And then starting to say, okay, well, which vehicles are your options? If you make, right, a good amount of money and you can max fund your 401k and do 19.5 a year, probably the right vehicle for you, because you probably needed somewhere to save 20 grand to avoid taxes. You're the average American putting away $200 a month into your 401k, thinking you're doing something. Rude awakening in 7 years when you quit that job and then get hit with taxes and penalties because you got to cash out your 401k and you got $4,000 in there, and you're like, what was I doing? So we got to understand these narratives, guys. I'm passionate about those. There are other options, there are other ways, but it's just really about being educated, right?
And these are the areas of the most miseducation.
That's right.
Right. This is it. We touched on society, money, health. Like, this is it right here. And Chris, I want to be clear that you're not saying Roth, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Roth,
Okay, cool.
Roth is a tax advantage product. Roth IRA, Roth 401k, cash value life insurance, municipal bonds, all those fall under what they call tax advantage. So that means the money's been taxed when you put it in. It's already taxed. You're not getting a tax benefit this year. But on the growth of that money, when you go to pull that out, there's no tax reporting on those dollars. So that way you negate whatever the tax penalty will be down the line, whatever the tax bracket will be down the line, you have tax-free money, right? Downside of Roth IRAs is, right, they cap your limits, right? Like the traditional, they want you to put a bunch of money there. Again, why? Who does it benefit? Why do they allow you to put a bunch over there, not a bunch over on the other side, right? Because they understand there's $6.1 trillion in 401k money in the stock market right now. The government knows that they're entitled to at least 30% of that. because as people pull the money out, they got to pay their taxes. They got to, and that's conservative 30%. The government might be entitled to 50% of that money. So think about it. The government knows this is a future account for them. If they get you to put it in, money's just going to grow, but they're entitled to it when it comes out. That's why they're going to start to, you guys are going to see it. Everyone that's listening, you'll see, right? They're going to start changing some of those rules to try to get that money out quicker, try to get those tax dollars out. They're going to start to incentivize you now on the other side to tell you like, hey, we're going to create some loopholes for you to pull that money out, right? It's because they know they want to start to move some of that stuff so they can access some of those tax dollars. That's what's going to happen. They'll switch it all up. But again, once you're educated, once you understand the game that's happening, once you take full control and ownership of where you are, man, life changes. Life changes. You don't buy into the narratives. You don't just passively throw all your money into the stock market. By the way, for those of you that actually do pay attention, right, like there might not be one U.S. company that in the stock market that you should be investing in right now by the looks of what's happening across the world, right? There might not be one. Like nothing in the U.S. stock market might be safe. Nothing. Maybe Amazon, maybe Apple, maybe Microsoft, maybe. Outside of that, not looking good. Not looking good. But do your due diligence, right? Like start studying, like figure out what's the narrative they're pushing, what's the real agenda, right, John? What's the real agenda? What's happening? How do you take ownership and control so that you and your family are still all right? That's really what this is about, right? From a health side, from a money side, from a mindset side, happiness, like this is what it's about. Like, how do you take control over these things? Get away from the misinformation, get away from the narratives, get back to thinking, get back to using your brain. How do we do that, right? And that we just, us three up here, we just want to, shed some light, plant some seeds, tell you that there are other ways. If you're thinking that there's not another, there are other ways to get there, wherever it is you're trying to be in any of these areas, right? So,
all right. Yo, I appreciate you breaking that down for the folks, man. I know I've definitely had some tough conversations around those things, and yeah, a lot of people just can't even wrap their brain around that. Wait, what? That's not the best thing to do, but that's what I've always heard. Well, that's why we're doing this episode, right? And I'll go ahead and I guess maybe bring it home here, but I'll try to leave a little bit of time here, Stu, for you to bring it home. All right, fine. I guess I'll go with these last two here, guys. I'll go with these last two. I'll go with the heavens above and the earth below our feet, okay? We've been taught two narratives that are extremely detrimental to our well-being. One is that we need to block the sun, okay? That we need to, there's some terrifying rays that come from the sun that's just killing people by the thousands, right? Millions dropping dead, okay? So as a result of that, we need to go up into the sky with a whole bunch of planes and spray things in the air that block sunlight from coming in. If you've ever seen those planes in the air with the steamy trail behind it, guys, that's not a passenger plane. That's not like some cargo plane. They're spraying stuff up there. All right? You can look this stuff up. This is not some theory. This has literally been front and center. Come out and said it. To block the sun and its harmful rays. That's the reasoning given. Okay? I'm telling you right now, extremely detrimental. When we look at what's in those things, we're breathing in metal particles. We're breathing in all types of particles that we don't even know. Okay? I didn't really want to say it, John. We're trying to stay on line here. We're not trying to get canceled. But John did state, and it's his opinion, which I may or may not agree with, that it's called chemtrails. I don't know. Look it up, okay? DuckDuckGo it. Try to get us canceled, John. And that's from above. And not just that, we've been so primed against that. And this has been sold. White folks, hear this now. Hear this. Sunblock ain't what you need. He said it, not me. Look that up. Since sunblock has been introduced.
I'm not gonna lie.
Say it again.
I got your personal anecdote right here. Used to believe it. Came down to Florida. Most sunshine in the whole nation. I go outside all the time. I'm fine. You don't want to get too much sun exposure? Put on a long sleeve shirt and a hat. Once you're a little bit too red, you're good.
Trees. There's trees for a reason, guys. And what you described, thank you for sharing that, Stu. What you just described is what I say or present, is that it's a question of progressive overload. Okay, you can't go in the gym and go lift 500 pounds. You got to work your way towards that. If you don't get a lot of sunlight, you can't just all of a sudden go out and get freaking 8, 9, 10 hours of intense sunlight. Of course, that's not going to do you good. But progressive overload gets you to where you need to be. And sunblock, since introduced, has actually increased the cases of skin cancer. So I'm guys, I'm not presenting just like, hey, this is a way. Like, I just want y'all to think about that. The thing that's supposed to protect you, since introduced, we're talking like 500 plus times. So did it do good or no? I don't know. Y'all figure it out. Okay. That's from above going down. 2 ways I just gave you. Okay. Guys, progressive overload for the sun, vitamin D, natural source, swallowing vitamin D. It's just not the same. It's not the same. Don't be fooled. Don't let them fool. Well, you got to go to the. Got it. Thank you, doc. Cool. Pound. Bye. Okay. No. Get it straight from the source. There isn't a damn thing we've made that's better than the natural thing. Okay. Not a one. Not a one. Okay. We may fool ourselves into thinking so, but not a one. Okay. That's that. And then the bottom coming back to the earth is that we need to continuously protect our feet. Right. That's the big one right there. Protect our feet. So we have these caskets that we put on our feet, which are dead, right? And we carry these caskets around our feet all day, and they mold our feet. They soften our feet, meaning that they make our feet some like, I use words I don't want to use, but it makes our feet basically like that pudgy kid in the gym that ain't gonna do nothing, right? Just soft, putty, no form, nothing, just dead feet. We have dead feet, okay? And not only dead feet, there's a second one right here that you got to Stu, is that it literally creates a barrier between all of the electric forces that we get from the earth. All good things we get from the earth, right? It literally creates a barrier. So not only are we inside all the time, we don't go outside to get the sun, right? But we also then, when we go outside, we put caskets on our feet and we don't get the electrical charge or able to discharge to the earth. It goes both ways, right? Both of that, terrible, terrible. Shoes then deform our feet. So the function of our feet is totally messed up, right? So guys, let's look at that again. And then also look at how much money is made in both industries, particularly the shoe industry, because we can all just see it, right? Okay, shout out Jordan, but he ain't never done shit for me, and I sure as hell am not gonna buy any of his shoes. All yours.
I don't know how to follow that up. That was awesome. Okay, so the one that really sticks out to me here is we hear it all the time, but destination addiction and happiness. Let me break that down. We've all heard the expression, money doesn't buy happiness, but it does provide you with opportunities to protect yourself. But I think what a lot of people, and from my observations, especially more so down here in South Florida, A lot of people really think that once you get the house, which Chris already touched on, once you get the partner, once you get the kids, once you get the job, once you get to retirement, you're going to be happier and happier and happier and happier. Guys, it's such bullshit. And you might be asking, like, Stu, how could you possibly think that? Guys, I played the game and I played it really well for a long time. And all of a sudden I started to realize, and I looked up these corporate ladders, these individuals with everything that I want, boat, car, house, wife, kids. Now, I'm not saying don't get a partner, don't get kids, all right? But the materialistic objects, they weren't happy. They were here slaving away just like I was doing, working all this time, but complaining about their house, their boat, their wife, their kid. So something's not right. It did not take me very long to realize, because I guys, when I tell you, like, I worked my ass off. Anybody that knows me from Skanska and kind of sort of Brassfield, but I was kind of off the juice by then. Anybody that knows me at Skanska knows how hard I worked. I believed in the game so much. I got to sit at the table with people who were in their 50s and 60s and talk business and get to know them, and they didn't like it, man. They didn't like it. They had divorces. They had all kinds of stuff because they prioritized the game that you have to play. And why do you think this game is so important and so pushed? It's already been talked about that potentially some of these narratives actually don't have your best intent at heart. Shout out Carolyn, what's up? When you stop and break down, the higher amount of money that you make, the harder you work to provide for the corporation, to provide for the government, the more taxes you pay, guys. That's it. I have, the moment I started prioritizing my time over money and over objects and over all different types of things that aren't real, the more I started to realize that, man, I could actually just be happy with a fraction of what I used to have. I don't need it. I don't need all that space. I don't need it all. I don't need to have all this fame and attention. It's actually kind of annoying if you stop to think about it. So, for real, like, when, especially to my people down here in South Florida, you don't need the next thing to be happy. You just need to figure out a routine and lifestyle and nutrition, and figure out like a safe balance of like conservative and fun and investing when it comes to money. Like, just figure out a way to take care of yourself and change the way you talk to yourself. If you continuously tell yourself over and over again, I'm not going to be happy until this, you might not actually phrase it that way. What you might actually be saying in the same intent is, I'll be happy once I have this. It's the same thing, guys. You're basically saying, I'm not going to be happy until you have it. So please cut out the destination addiction. You don't need a material object to satisfy what's up here. You need gratitude. You need consistency. You need grounding. You need your health. You just need a little bit of planning to make sure you're covered financially so you don't have to live in fear. And you're good to go, guys. So that's to me. And Chris, I'll hand it over to you, man.
It's a great place to wrap up. I'm not even going to give a third one, because we'll just let the people sit. If they want to talk to us, they know where to reach us, right? We've dropped so many gems. You guys, like this, man, we saved it for episode 30, man. Like, hopefully everyone that's listening and paying attention right now has gotten some value, some things that are common that you hear, that you know that, like, there's a different way, and we've presented that to you today, right? Even if we've just opened your mind or opened your eye just a little bit to a possibility that there could be another way, that's what we're doing here. That's what we want to be able to do. Because again, in order to get to the good life, guys, you got to think about things differently than most people do, right? John, we appreciate you, man, jumping on, engaging with us. Again,
appreciate you, dog.
Absolutely. Rich over on LinkedIn said he's our good life realtor. I guess he wants to join the team. What's up, Rich? Hope you're well, man. And absolutely, man. Hopefully one day we could probably start having guests eventually on this thing, and bringing some people on. But
episode 101.
Episode 101. Well, there you go.
101. We'll see you then.
Episode 101 is when we can start to get to some of the guests. Before then, I alluded to this at the very beginning. So to wrap up, I just want to drop one thing on you guys. We are taking the good life to the next level. We want to build this community out. We have so many things we want to be able to share with you and get to you that we want you to jump on. Could be dancing, man.
I'm just adding a little hype in the background.
Add in the hype. It's all good. Hey,
Hey.
if you're watching us on Facebook or LinkedIn, YouTube, you see that scrolling on the bottom. It's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/email TGL, which is email the good life. If you go to that website, you're going to see actually we've already added a bunch of value for you. Most of those books that Kobi just mentioned, plus some finance books that I recommend and some mindset books that Stu recommends, are all on that site. Once you go to that site, you can see the list of our recommended reading. And if you leave your email, we're going to do something special for the first 100 people that are able to jump on and subscribe. Like I said, we got a lot of good stuff coming up, and we just want to make sure that we're staying in touch with you, and you guys can stay in touch with us so we can keep getting you more of these gems around health, wealth, love, happiness, mindset, the whole nine. Right, guys? So that was it. Episode 30. I'm super proud of us. You did an amazing job. Hopefully everyone out there is taking notes. And man, we're coming back for 31 and 32. Man, before you know it, we'll be on 60. Before you know it, we'll be on 90. And we'll just keep this thing moving, guys. So Carolyn, we appreciate you as well on Instagram. And for everyone that's following, feel free to jump on that bit.ly link, bit.ly/email TGL. And we look to hear from you soon. All right, guys? Signing off for another episode of The Good Life. Talk to you next week. Take care.
Yes, sir. See you guys.